Hey everybody, it's Mike. I am about to go out for the day and start teaching some drum lessons. And before I do, I like to try, at least when I have time, to get a warm-up in before I just start teaching students so that my hands are all stretched out and ready to go. And I got a question a couple times recently because I like to take my practice pad to every gig and get at least 15-20 minutes at a minimum of warming up on the practice pad before I go onto the stage and start hammering away at playing drums. So what I wanted to do, since I'm warming up anyway, is do a quick video lesson about what I use to warm up. And it's not always exactly the same, but there are some things that I do every time. And I will talk about that a little bit, and again, if you've never watched one of these videos, here's the deal. I always like to tell people why they should take into account what I have to say about playing drums. And so the short version of that this year is I just played gig number 93 this past weekend. I did 5 shows in 4 days with several different bands, and I'm pretty on track to do 160 to somewhere between 160 to 200 gigs this year. So I'm out there making a living being a drummer, and I've studied pretty much my entire life since I was 6 years old when I took my first drum lesson, all the way through college until I was 23, and I still look for people who I can take a lesson from here and there. So lifelong study, and I'm out there doing the job, playing the gigs, paying my bills with playing music, which is amazing and awesome. But I got this question a couple times, and it's, what are you practicing, or what are you using to warm up? Well, there's a couple of common things that I use. Sometimes I change it up based on what I'm playing or the gig I'm about to do. But there are some universal things, and I didn't invent any of these things. These are just things that I know work for me to get my hands loosened up and get moving. Now, given I haven't played at all today, so you're literally going to watch me go from ice cold to starting to warm up before I go out to teach lessons. First things first, always use the metronome. There's a million free metronomes apps out there, and this one is not free. This is the Tempo Advance app, and I think it might be $5 or $10 on your app store. But either way, even if you use a free one, always practice with a metronome. As drummers, our whole purpose in life is to get tempos correct and to provide steady timekeeping for the rest of the band. So the way we do that is to practice with the metronome relentlessly. Spend time with your pad or plug your headphones in and play your drum kit to the metronome, because the machine never speeds up or slows down. Players do that without even knowing you're speeding up or slowing down, but the way to avoid that is to play with the metronome a lot. Some people, studio guys, call it a click track because it's, the track that clicks in their ear while they're recording parts. But same thing, always practice with the metronome, no matter what instrument you play, because everybody has to have really good timing to make bands sound good. So, excuse me. Anyway, since I haven't played today, I am starting my metronome at 90 beats per minute. Nice, easy tempo, just to get things moving. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to play some single strokes directly into some double strokes, back into singles, then doubles, back into singles, then doubles without stopping. And I'll show you what that looks like. Now, the reason I do this is because most of what we do with our hands is either single strokes or double strokes. When you're sitting behind the kit and you do any kind of fill, it's usually a combination of those two things. Even when you're playing grooves, you're doing singles and doubles. And I'll talk about flams here in a minute too. But here we go. Here's the first warm-up that I use, and this is usually what I'll say I usually start with some 8 on a hands. And if you don't know what 8 on a hand is, there's about a gazillion versions of this. But let me do some 8 on a hands at 90. All we're doing is playing a measure of eighth notes, right, then all left, then all right, then all left. Check it out. So there's the metronome. Just getting the blood flowing. Nice, easy tempo. It's important to note that I'm using a full stroke, or a legato stroke, as some people call it. And that means the stick is starting high, and I'm letting it rebound to the same height each time I hit the pad in this instance. So there's what that looks like. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 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 stop. So that is pretty universal to all drummers, and I usually walk that up tempo-wise. About 10 in increments of 10 beats a minute. So if I started at 90 this time, my next tempo will be 100, 110, 120, 130, so on and so forth until I can't play any faster. So that's usually how I start. And then I do the singles and doubles combination exercise. And you can actually find this exact thing in Bill Bachman's Rudimental Logic book, which I have right here. It looks like this. There are basically, I've got asked this question too, what type of things sit on your music stands at home for practice? And in addition to the many, many set lists that I'm continuously learning, there are 2 drum books that I keep on my music stand all the time. First being good old stick control. You can't go wrong with stick control. It doesn't matter if you're studying an orchestral style or a rudimental style. This book will greatly improve your hands. I was told, and I don't know if this is true anymore, but this is the #1 selling drum instructional book of all time. And I believe that because everybody should know and be able to play through everything in this book. And realistically, you could spend 3 months on page 1 at varying tempos and work your way all the way to the back. So stick control, as much as you can stand. And yeah, it gets a little tedious, but if you want to get better, you got to be able to be willing to do the things that are boring and tedious, so that when you want to play fun things, you have the technical facility to do them. And this book will do that for you. The other thing that I mentioned is Rudimental Logic. This is the 3.0 version. Bill Bachman, if you don't know who Bill Bachman is, Google him. He's got some of the best hands in the business. He's like a drum corps guy. But even if you're a drum set player, which is primarily what I do now, I'm out of the marching band game, out of the drum corps game, all those things, this book will give you incredible exercises to get better, faster, and pretty quick. It works pretty quick. There's a few exercises for every rudiment. The hybrids are in here, and then there's just exercises, rudimental type exercises that are in the back and in the front, and there's a good amount of text that really describes what your hand technique should be like. And I agree with it pretty much all the time. Whatever. So don't just get it and read the notes. Get in there and read the text that Bill Bachman provides, because there's a lot of good information on how to be a better player and how to get these things to come out of your hands when they normally wouldn't, or what things to pay attention to. So anyway, I got a sneeze coming. So anyway, this exercise that I use, singles and doubles. It's a measure of 30-second note singles, followed by a measure of 30-second note doubles at the exact same speed. So I'm not doubling the rate to get double strokes. I'm actually keeping them the same. Here's what it looks like. Back at 90 beats per minute. That's all that it is. And I do that for a long time before a show. And when I say a long time, I mean maybe 2-3 minutes of varying tempos of me just literally working singles and doubles, getting my fingers, getting my wrists, getting my forearms loosened up. Okay, So that's the other exercise that I always do before when I'm sitting in the corner at the bar or behind the stage with my practice pad, just shedding it up, trying to get warmed up before the show. There's also a couple rudiments that I always play, and strangely enough, I'm still not going to do videos on each individual rudiment and how to play them, because there's a million of those out there, and there's guys that are way better than me providing that kind of information already. So you don't need that. But if you don't know these rudiments, check them out. There's a complete rudiment listing of 40 PAS rudiments. I believe it's still on Vic Firth's site as well as the PAS.org site. You can check out all the rudiments, all the 40 standard rudiments. And if you're into hybrids and all that stuff, there's a ton of literature and websites and stuff out there that you can check it out. But so many people don't spend time learning their rudiments. They just want to sit down at the kit and start playing grooves and cool fills. But if you take the time to learn all the rudiments and be really good at them at varying tempos, the old school mastery of open to close to open or slow to fast to slow on every single one of those 40 rudiments, is the way to go. You'll have great hands if you do that. So I believe there's still a PDF on Vic Firth which names the rudiment and shows it to you written out in notation, and it's got all 40 on there. And if you don't know all your rudiments, I would recommend you starting there, print that sucker out or save the PDF to your tablet or whatever, and just run those rudiments down on the daily, so that your hands get better. Because basically rudiments, rudimentary, via English language would mean like a basic, easy thing. So if those things are escaping you, you're missing out on the basics. They came up with those forever ago to make people's hands really good so that they can play really awesome and cool things. Okay, so the rudiments that I always play are double paradiddle. And I don't know why, but there are certain rudiments that you don't think should be hard to play fast, but suddenly they are. Double paradiddle is one of those. I mean, here's a single paradiddle, right? Everybody can blow through a single paradiddle, right? At any tempo. Paradiddle diddle's pretty easy. Here's paradiddle diddle, right? To get fast. But for some reason, double paradiddle is the nasty one. And there's 3 ways that I practice double paradiddle. First, again, I'm not going to explain what double paradiddle is, but I'm going to show you the 3 variations that I use to warm up. Okay, first one being accent on the first of each repetition. Okay, and what I'll do is I'll set my metronome and I'll play that at the rate of a 16th note, sextuplet, so 2 16th note triplets. So that sounds like this. Okay, and I walk that up, 90, 100, 110, 120, 130, and depending on what the exercise is, it depends on my tempo that I top out at, because I can only play some of these so fast. Usually it's like 150-ish or so, but anyway, the other way I do this is with 2 accents. So that sounds like this. Okay, so then I mix and match those. I'll do 4, so 2 on the right, 2 on the left with 1 accent, and then 2 on the right, 2 on the left with 2 accents, like this. And I do that over and over again, increasing the tempos gradually. So again, these are just my warm-ups that I choose to do because they seem to work for me. There's a third way that we do double paradiddle, and that's like this. So all I'm doing is moving. I'm still playing 2 accents in it, but I'm playing it on the first note of the double paradiddle and the 4th note. So on and so forth. So I set that and into my rotation. So the first one would be double paradiddle with 1 accent, double paradiddle with 2 accents right in a row, and then double paradiddle with 2 accents on the 1st and the 4th note. Sounds like this. So that's all 3 ways, and there are other accent patterns you can use, but those are the 3 I use to get warmed up. And I'm doing them slow because A, I haven't played today before I started making this video, and B, I usually do start about this slow and gradually work my way up over 15, 20 minutes, maybe 30 minutes, depending on how much time I have before we go on. So the other one of the rudiments that's surprisingly hard to get any speed at is flam paradiddle. And if you don't know what flam paradiddle is, go look it up, do your homework. But I usually play flam paradiddle because I always tell my drum set students, you gotta practice flams. Because in any time when you're sitting behind the kit and both your hands hit 2 different things at the same time, you're in effect playing a flam. And I know that that's not exact, meaning a flam is not quite at the same time. And when you play a groove, you want everything to line up perfectly. But essentially what you're doing is playing a flat flam. And the way you can work those kind of coordinations on your practice pad is by playing flam exercises. So that, in addition to flam paradiddle being one of those ones that doesn't seem like it should be hard to play fast, but it really is, I play flam paradiddle before a gig. And I do it at the 16th, just a regular 16th note rate. I'm still at 90 beats per minute right now. So I'm going to start flam paradiddle. Nice and easy. Nice and easy. Just getting everything working. Right with the click. Okay? Now, what makes flam paradiddle hard, and again, check out Bill Bachman's book because his breakdowns and his exercises are really, really good to get a flam paradiddle faster. When you separate your hands, when you're playing flam paradiddle, essentially what you have to do is play 4 notes in a row. And that's what makes it hard. So check out flam paradiddle, check out double paradiddle with the variations on accents, single strokes, double strokes running together, all those things, and make sure those are just kind of a few of the exercises that I'll play before a show, and they're all really good warm-ups to get your hands moving before you sit down and try to get everything together when you just start playing your kick. So hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully this answers some questions. I got to get moving, but stay tuned. I'll post some more video lessons about rudimental type things as well. Thanks a lot for watching.